Hi everyone. As you know by now, I'm Avery. I started this channel really to share with people in my world about my upcoming adoption and about how I was going to approach parenting. I recognize that this might be different than a lot of people around me. And so I wanted to share with them in advance so that they wouldn't be surprised if it may look like I'm coddling or spoiling my children by some of the attachment styles that I choose to use. Now, in doing this, I originally posted a couple of videos and recognized pretty quickly that there was a lot more use for this type of information, that if the people around me could benefit from it, then certainly people at large could. And the more that I learned about parenting kids with trauma, adoption parenting, attachment parenting, therapeutic parenting, I healed my own experiences with childhood trauma. So not only was this hugely beneficial to my children, but it was also hugely beneficial to me. And at that point is when we can really recognize that we are the ones that are starting to end the intergenerational trauma. And that is huge for me. I feel like when I say that out loud, that was my purpose. That is my purpose. I feel as though I have started that thread in my family, and that feels very strong and powerful because it hasn't happened until now. And so that means a lot to me. So that's a little bit about why I'm here, but a little bit about me. I was born in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I love the West Coast. I always have. When I get off the plane there, I feel at home. And I grew up most of my life in Regina, Saskatchewan. So also a prairie girl at heart. But I never really felt at home there, and I always knew that I wanted to live somewhere else. About 6 years ago, I moved to Ottawa, Ontario, and have really been enjoying my spot on the earth now. I am blessed to live, work, and play on unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory up here in Canada. I work as a public servant for our First Peoples, for our Indigenous people, and I take that job really seriously. I recognize the weight of what has been done to Canada's First Peoples, and whatever I can do to help to right that machine, I certainly will. And while recognizing the futility of being one small cog within it is often hard on my heart. I'm a trained reflexologist, and I have fostered families, children. I raised my brother from the time that he was 7. He is now an adult. He's 25, and he's going on to start his own family. And right now I am waiting on the adoption of 2 siblings from India. I don't know yet who they are, and I just anxiously am awaiting. And that was another reason why I was able to come to this YouTube channel, because I'm waiting and I have a lot of time on my hands. I am currently 42 years old and I work a full-time job along with my reflexology, but I still have time, and I recognize the blessing in that. I'm writing a memoir, and I'm sharing content about parenting. So here you are. So I raised my brother. I don't have any biological children of my own. That's a sidebar. I have 2 beautiful dogs and 2 cats, and I live with my 2 best friends. That's a lot of 2s. I love to garden. Here in Canada, it is May, and we are just starting up our summer season, and so it is when I start to feel good and whole and in the flow. I really adore our summers here. And that is me. Really, in a nutshell, that is me. I came to adoption through infertility, and I think that's a story for another time. I will do another video that outlines that whole story and how I navigated through infertility in my mid-30s to now be anxiously awaiting my adoption in my mid-40s. It's been quite the ride. And of course, I can't get through this without mentioning that I love to read. I am obsessed, maybe a little bit, with reading. And so I ingest a lot of content on parenting, adoption parenting, but on all sorts of things. I love to read. I loved Mists of Avalon. That was a really great book. That was one that I listened to on Audible, and it took me 52 hours or something a couple of summers ago, and I loved it. But lately I am definitely all about the parenting content. And so in my trauma-informed video, I talk about this book, What Happened to You, by Oprah and Dr. Bruce Perry. Very good one. The Connected Parent, Karen Purvis, also excellent. So many, but like so many parenting ones I just have right at my disposal at the moment. Let Me Feed Me. I'm gonna do a great video. Look at me tooting my own horn. I'm gonna do a video on this one. It's all about eating, and it blew my mind. Like, I love those books that just present something in a way and have such a scientific, factual argument behind it that you wonder how you didn't see it that way before. Love those books. And yeah, so there you go. Books, reading. A few more quick things on me. I am a proud Celtic Jewish Métis woman. I am Irish and Scottish and French and British. So all of those guys came over and colonized and hooked up with some of the ladies here, and those were my First Nations grandmothers. And on my grandfather's side, those were the Jewish Holocaust survivors. They caught wind when political distress was starting to happen and ventured over to America. And so that's why I'm here. So at times I feel that in my blood. There is a long lineage of hardship, and that has had repercussions on the generations to follow. And it's interesting to observe that. As far as siblings, I was raised with 4 others. We have a big spread in age. I was nearly 18 years old when my baby brother Zach was born. And so that was 5 underneath our mother. Under my father, I have 2 half brothers, and through 23andMe, I discovered a whole other half sister that no one knew existed. So that was fun. Growing up, I also had 2 stepsisters. Although we didn't see them much, we knew that they were there, and we were constantly thinking of them and sending them love. And so if you are keeping tabs, that would be 8 siblings in total so far, and we'll see if any more turn up. It's an interesting ride. I'd mentioned earlier that I'm a reflexologist, and so for those of you that don't know, that is a way to reduce stress on the whole body. It's a complementary therapy. It is activating pressure points in your feet and breaking up calcium deposits that may be on your nerve endings that are associated to every other part of your body. It's just really great for stress relief, for getting better sleeps, for overall central nervous system management. And I just love it as a healing modality, as well as for my own and my clients' meditative state. I think it's a lovely hour. I also, as you can maybe tell from some of my videos or the way that I talk, I'm really into crystals and plants and anything that really will ground me and make me have a better connection to this earth and this life, and especially if it's going to bring more joy and bliss really to this experience. I love to pay homage to our First Nations peoples and my grandmothers, and I love to smudge, and I was taught this by First Nations elders. Of course, I'm so blessed with my career to early on in Regina, Saskatchewan, to have been able to go out to community, to have experience with First Nations elders who lovingly guided, corrected, and taught me. And these different teachers throughout my world have been really invaluable and have helped to develop me into the person I am. So I'm super grateful to all of that. And yes, and with that, I took lessons from Saskatchewan. I've now had the blessing also of this cross continent learning. And so I've got teachings from British Columbia, from Saskatchewan, and from Ontario. And I just find myself so blessed to have all of these experiences. So there you go. Okay, so I think that's all you really need to know for now. Again, questions below. I'm an open book, so ask away. And certainly if you have questions about how to show up in a more authentic way for yourself or for your kids, let's talk about it. Bless. And in case you can't tell, I like teddy bears. And so just as a little side note of something that I've learned since learning is that teddy bears are great for people who had childhood trauma. And if you're an adult who has had an affinity for teddy bears, but has kind of been shit on about that, welcome to the club. But I want to tell you, there is no shame in still loving teddy bears as an adult. And especially for those of us that may have not felt safe and secure in our childhood, may have not been able to hold on to all of our childhood possessions, having these little suckers is very helpful for our hearts, our healing, and our inner regulation. And so if anybody gives you a hard time for your teddy bear, tell them to suck it. That's my public service announcement for today. You are welcome. Amen.